The Congressman joins us now on Morning Line, 93.3 AM 560 KWTO. Congressman Billy Long, thanks for joining us again on the show.
Good morning. You're welcome. How you all doing today?
Doing all right as we roll into a Friday here. So, Billy, what an epic tale that Joe Biden spun there about the realities of Obamacare, which did kick millions of people, I'm sure thousands of Missourians, off of the health insurance that they once had. I mean, Billy, it's just a flat out untruth, isn't it, that Joe Biden told about what happened after Obamacare passed?
Of course it is. And it was supposed to cost $2,500 less per year. That was the biggest lie I was told. They told us that the average American family would save $2,500 a year in their insurance premiums. And if you know what our insurance premiums have done since then, and I'm on Obamacare, there's this big, information out there that Congress isn't on Obamacare. We get special. Chuck Grassley, Ohio senator, that's what he was until Obamacare. And he said, okay, if it's good enough for the American public, it's good enough for Congress, it's good enough for senators, we have to have Obamacare. We have to buy Obamacare, stay on Obamacare. And one thing that isn't told in that story that Donald Trump said at one of his rallies was he said, I'm not only going to protect the pre-existing conditions. Well, he could not protect my pre-existing doctor at the time if he'd been around when we did Obamacare, because my doctor quit. He took one look at it and said, I'm so many doctors, due to the overwhelming paperwork, homework they have to do every night during your visit to the office. I remember my doctor said, you sit there. And he said, normally I'd send you down the hall and next appointment, but you sit there and I've got to enter all this. He had a laptop. I mean, I thought I was going to have to check his blood pressure. And shortly after that, he quit. But one of the questions of the day, I think, is what's the difference in social media and socialist media? Social media and socialist media. I mean, this, thing of not printing the New York Times story and Facebook and Twitter pulling stories that are legitimate stories. Twitter pulled Charlie Kirk off of Twitter for a few days. It's just incredible what they can do, and then go back to letting people say what they want to say, freedom of speech,
Congressman, isn't it amazing how the media can absolutely ignore a story when it's right before their face, it's bumping them in the eye? Lieutenant Tony Bobulinski goes on live national television. I think Fox may be the only network in the room. Maybe some of the other conservative media outlets were there as well, but it was a sparse crowd. Can they continue to ignore these epic bombshells about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden basically using Joe Biden's office to gain political favor, to gain millions of dollars to enrich the Biden family, basically on taxpayer time?
Yeah, and I said last week that I don't know the exact figures, but if you look at, we have to report everything we own, every piece of real estate, every stock. We have to account for everything, a thorough, detailed report. It's all out there. Anybody can go look at anyone's report. And Joe Biden, his net worth, went from, I don't know the exact figures. I need to look it up so I can tell you, but it's like hundreds of thousands of dollars to millions and millions of dollars from one year to the next. Where did that come from? I mean, my net worth went up a little one year, and all the reporters called all out of breath. Where'd you get that money? Where'd you get that money? I said, well, my dad died. And, left me some money. Me and my sister sold the house, split the house, So it's kind of a tough way to just have one of your parents die. But that's where my money, and I'm not talking about a huge amount of money, but they just, they think they can nail you on something. They call up all out of breath and want to know, what you did, what nefarious thing you've been doing. Congressmen and senators figure out how to enrich themselves while they're in office. I missed that memo.
Yeah, you must have. Bill, speaking to Congressman Billy Long here on Morning Line, Billy, Joe Biden appeared to double down on his bizarre, radical environmental climate change proposals. Congressman, how devastating to middle America, to the heartland and beyond, to the Ohio River Valley, would Joe Biden's climate change plan be? Whether he wants to call it the Green New Deal or not, it sure walks and talks like that, Duck. I mean, wouldn't that be devastating to the entire national economy if Joe Biden got his way?
I thought Trump was going to win this thing before But when he got to that part of the debate, I thought, well, there goes Texas, there goes Pennsylvania. There, for Biden, it's over now, really over. And James Carville, his famous description of Pennsylvania is, you've got Philadelphia on one side and Pittsburgh on the other and Alabama in the middle. And that's the truth. I mean, before the last election, I was at an event over in Pennsylvania, and we were in a restaurant. A guy came up, somehow he found out we were congressmen. He came up to me, and he was one of the pipe fitters union, and he was scared to death that Trump was not going to beat Hillary, the pipe fitter there in Pennsylvania. They said they're going to say we will have no work. They're going to shut down everything. We're not going to have any work at all. And with when he lied last night about that, and then he said, put it on your website, put it out there that I was going to get rid of fracking. Well, Ari Fleischer, who's a friend of mine, is a spokesperson for Bush. He's on, I don't know, one of those, he's on Fox or which one, he's on one of the talking head deals all the time. But he found the clip and put it up before the debate was over. So if you go to Ari Fleischer's Twitter feed, you can see that on there. If you go to my Twitter feed, you can see where I reposted it last night. But yeah, Biden, they just lie, you could give them, $5 lie or $10 to tell the truth, and they'd always take the $5. They'd rather lie, for less money.
Yeah,
and even if it's coming from the Russian oligarch's mayor's wife, $3.5 million. I think Trump should have followed up a little bit. Your son got that much. Maybe you didn't get it, but, now can you see going to Thanksgiving, Christmas dinner, sitting at the table with your family, and you got a $3.5 million check in your pocket, and you're not going to tell your dad, "Hey, Dad, guess what I got?" But he said he'd never heard of any of that. But now that the fella came out last night that worked for him, and they're going to explain what all's on this computer, and Don Ratcliffe, he's being Director of National Intelligence, and a lot is going to come out so it's in time to seal the deal for Donald J. Trump. I can't imagine. You're not talking about Joe Biden. You're talking about George Soros. That's what it is. And one other real quick thing. I voted this week. Why did I vote this week? Well, one thing, they can call us back, grab a hat to run back out to D.C. and, vote for the COVID package. So that's a consideration. But my real consideration, when it got down to 14 days, I know people wait on my table that have had COVID. I know people that have been quarantined. And I suggest, a lot of people, if you want to vote, make sure your vote counts, stick your ballot in that machine, and go over there and do that in whatever county you live in.
Great point to wrap up on, Billy. Everybody get out there and vote. Congressman, we're out of time this week, but we'll have you back next week, which will be a mere 4 days before the big general election. We'll get your final thoughts, your closing arguments on making America great again for the next 4 years. Congressman Billy Long, thanks so much for joining us again this morning on Morning Line.
Thank you. I'll always enjoy it. Bye-bye.